All right, fantastic.
So we decided last minute to make a more creative title for our session, other than Fireside Chat. It didn't make it on the screen, but we asked Jasper and we came up with AI in full bloom, 1-800-Flowers Journey to Smarter Marketing. So welcome.
Quick question before we start. Oh, wow, that is loud. AI in full bloom. How many people bought their Mother's Day gifts from 1-800-Flowers this season? You're all dead to me. You're great. You're great. Awesome. Thank you. All right, you're there. You're there. The rest of you can leave. All right.
Beautiful. Well, we're going to talk about AI today a little bit. First, I'm Jessica Hreha from Jasper. Jasper is an enterprise AI co-pilot built specifically for marketers. So some of the things you're hearing in terms of pain points these last couple of days, AI outputs are too generic. We can't keep up with whether it's OpenAI or Google or Anthropic in terms of which is the best system. It's not secure, or it doesn't know me and my brand. Jasper answers all of those questions by making it consistent, allowing you to rate it on your brand voice, being a secure system, and leveraging all of the frontier large language models, acting as your sort of research arm to make sure that we're using the best ones. For example, when GPT-4o came out, we were testing that immediately, and we had that into some of our customer systems within 24 hours. We're excited about Google Gemini's large context window, right? So you don't have to pick one. We do the hard work for you, and we are trained, we fine tune and train templates and workflows specifically for marketers. So we're streamlining your workflows, processes, and increasing performance for marketing teams. So just a little bit about Jasper. And now, Jason, tell us a little bit about, well, just so everyone knows, 1-800-Flowers and all the different kinds of brands in your role.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm a marketer, so I'll speak a little bit more of the grounding of today's conversation in marketing language, and then hopefully we can progress from there. So yeah, 1-800-Flowers is this brand portfolio, 17 brands we have currently: Harry and David, Cheryl's Cookies, Popcorn Factory, Personalization Mall, Things Remembered. I can keep going, but 17 really unified, mostly around gifting. And grounded in e-commerce, but we are evolving, and my marketing goal and direction is to move from a gifting company to a relationship company. So how do we start to go beyond the transaction, whether it was content, we'll obviously discuss AI, but how do we shape that strategy, and how do we move our 17 brands in that direction and create differentiation in space?
Thank you. So 1-800-Flowers has been leading in the AI and machine learning space for some time. AI is not new, right? It's been around for a decade or more. What's new is the generative side. But could you share with us some of the programs internally and externally you've been leveraging AI for?
Yeah, definitely. So I like to bifurcate it to two areas. One area is sort of back office, behind the scenes, process improvements, etc. And the other is customer facing. That's something I haven't heard a lot about today, is the customer facing side of AI. And how do we as marketers embrace AI for a customer experience and actually try and have fun? And again, I have not heard fun mentioned with AI, I think, in any conference that I've been to. And I had a pleasure of visiting Microsoft last week to get a little preview of what's coming down the pipe with them. But fun was never mentioned either. So as marketers, we need to keep customer experience. We need to keep sort of what's been our core in marketing DNA for hundreds of years now, and kind of bring that to the forefront. So I can give an example if you want. So so on the fun side, we launched the Momverse. Again, for everybody here who bought all their Mother's Day gifts, I appreciate it. And you probably played with Momverse. So it was a free ChatGPT powered poem or song generator for your mom. And of course, it's free because we wouldn't be a relationship company if we didn't offer free opportunities to connect and engage and build more and better relationships, which is our strategy and our goal. So in Momverse, you can go to our site, you can type in 3 or 4 interesting things about your mom, and a customized poem will be generated, which you can either text or put in a card, or just write it down, send a letter, whatever you need to do. But it was a very fun, interactive, engaging experience, and tens of thousands of poems were generated over a week and a half period. But it got a lot of buzz, and people really enjoyed it.
I love that example because I feel like the poem, the song is a very approachable way to start to try out AI and learn it. And one of the things that I advise marketers to do is, get into the systems, even if it's from a personal experience, right? And creating a song or a poem is a great way to make it approachable to
Exactly.
start, and then really get to see what the power of it is, which opens your mindset into terms of all of those other use cases. So that was the external side. Internally, how are you thinking about creating a culture or encouraging your teams to use and explore AI on the generative side?
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of encouragement for my team to experience and get hands on. So Albert Einstein had said, "Experience is learning, and everything else is information." And I think we've got a lot of information that we've been drilled into over the past couple of days and into tomorrow. But experience is really going to be the starting point for anybody's learning process. So internally, we are a Microsoft shop internally, so we using Copilot. How do we start to encourage our employees to start to use AI, at least in their day-to-day function, and then start that learning process? So it's kind of pushing a boulder down a hill. You need that at first inertia, and then it starts to pick up, and then self-learning takes over, and all the great people on your teams that you entrust are going to be the growth and the minds of the engine of the future. Will start to take it in directions that you didn't think about. So I think that's how we're encouraging internally.
Yeah, and we see that that's a definite trend with our customers who are more along in their journey too, is that it's starting with those use cases from the users, the hands to keyboard doers that are creating. And then those use cases are shared across the team. And then that's how it comes up. So, for example, prior to Jasper, I was at VMware in global demand content strategy, and I founded our marketing AI council, which is a cross functional team of 35. We rolled out AI usage guidelines, responsible AI policies, education, training, and scaled our use cases and licenses across our entire global marketing team of 765. So through that process, we learned this approach where it's, start with, a lot of people talked about this today too, one use case on one team, but you still have to create this culture. It's a lot of change management. So having your Teams channel or a Slack channel dedicated to this topic where people can share and learn, and then make it approachable and make it okay to experiment with. We heard that on some of the panels today. It's safe. We want you to use it. For example, bring AI into every meeting and say, how did you use AI in the past week? And then you as a leader, even if it's a recipe or homework help for your kid at home, right? What you're really saying is, look, I use AI. I want you to use AI too. It's safe. And I want us to learn together. And this is how you can start to sow those seeds of culture creation.
Yeah, and I think part of the thing I learned, and I'm not going to date myself, but back when this thing called the internet was becoming popular, we started adopting learning. So I was working for Martha Stewart at the time. This is prior to any legal issues. I had nothing to do with that. We created centers of excellence and sort of innovation teams. And to be honest, it created pockets of innovation, but also isolation from other people in other parts of the organization that were not in that team. So my current leadership theory is to not create those and to really just from the ground up, make sure everybody thinks individually that they're an innovator and they're a contributor to the team. AI is not a strategy. AI is an opportunity for us to achieve our strategy in a better, faster way. So that's what I'm encouraging from every individual in the organization. We're not going to create a pocket. We're not going to create a center of excellence. It's going to be everybody's job to innovate. And we're organized in general in teams and pods anyway with responsibilities. How does AI get you to achieve your goals better? How it creates better customer output, how does it create more efficient work streams, work processes, and how do we get to our goals faster?
Yeah, and that's a great way to think about it too, because ultimately where you want to get to is this mindset of how can AI help me with this XYZ, this goal, right? So everyone has KPIs. We all have areas of the business we need to improve, and that's where we should focus. What pieces of the production process could be streamlined, right? Are bottlenecked, right? Ultimately, to improve efficiency, faster time to market. But it starts in that one small piece, and then you prove it out, right? And then build and scale from there.
Yeah, one thing I was thinking from an analogy when I was hearing some of the presentations is if you went for a relay race, that first leg of the relay is really good for AI to run. You still want to have the glory and cross the finish line in that fourth leg, but from an ability to start somewhere, AI is really good. And one of the mundane things that we have to do is anybody ever in meetings during the day? Anybody? Whoever didn't raise their hand, can you let me know what you do? Because so my daughter is actually here today, and when she asked me what I did that day, I'm like, I was in meetings most of the day. But taking meeting notes is super important, and it's something that people forget to do all the time. So next meeting you're at, it feels like you just had the same meeting you did last week, because at the beginning of that meeting you didn't say, well, here was the recap of what we decided and what we did. That efficiency alone, I mean, when you're in a 2.5 billion plus public company, you have a lot of meetings. So AI and using Copilot with Teams, we're able to streamline that process. Every meeting has very clear and succinct meeting notes. Now, of course, there's going to be mistakes, or it's taken a note on a sidebar that should not have been taken a note on, but that's part of the learning process. But it really helps to streamline that first relay leg for us, and especially with meetings, and making that more efficient. So again, just start somewhere. Usually in the black and white, it's very clear what the output need is. It's process improvement, and then go from there.
Yeah, and I think you hit it on the head too. The AI is not perfect, right? Usually when it comes out, and usually we want to get it's about 80% of the way there. And so a lot of times that's a deterrent for people. Well, it's not there yet, so I'm not going to use it. And video, we talked about that today already, right? Not there yet. But from a content production perspective, we as humans aren't perfect either. We iterate, right? Writing is 99% revision. But let's get to that first draft faster, and then we can iterate and revise from there, and then get it out the door faster. And that's the same thing for ideating, research and ideation, to inform your strategy brief, to create your campaign content, to create your derivative content, then to measure your performance, increase ad variations, right? That's where you get to the performance side of things. I love that use case too, because I believe every use case shared inspires another use case. So are there any other ways that you're seeing on your team that have been transformational, even in the way that it's helping with your meetings?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it's just day-to-day work processing, and maybe giving starting points. So, when the social media team is maybe having a block on what post content should be this particular week, you can go into Llama and you can try and get some hints and tips. Again, it's not going to be perfect, but it might inspire a direction. So again, I think it's super important to know that, and I've been saying this on stages for 20 years now. Marketing is very much an art and a science. That art part is not going to go away. It makes us who we are. It'll continue to exist. But AI is certainly helping. It's helping to start the process. And maybe one day it does get to a point where it's soup to nuts, but it's not anytime around the corner. So, we just got to keep layering more of that art part on. And, the bar is being raised. But that's great. We want the bar to be raised. I mean, I don't know how long I've spent with this promise of one-to-one marketing. Anybody heard of one-to-one marketing? And we achieved it yet? I don't know. Again, it's been a very long time, but AI is going to get us another step closer. So I'm excited about the world it can lead to, and how we can continue to evolve and up-level ourselves as a marketing organization to take on new challenges.
So I get asked a lot about advanced AI use cases too. So because you hit on one, I'll share how I think about this. One is generally it's enabling your entire global marketing team with equitable access to a secure tool that's trained in your brand. Like that's a very advanced, right? We're going all in as a professional development opportunity to upskill and reskill our marketers. I believe CMOs have a responsibility to do that, and AI literacy and access is a part of that. Number two is really taking your expertise as marketers and pushing AI systems further, because you have that expertise. You know what good looks like. So for example, training an AI system on content marketing best practices, like fine-tuning in the back end to your specific stages of the buyer journey, along with all of the different variables in your campaign type, to get really specific outputs, right? So 95% of the way there now in, for example, your campaign promotional bill of materials production. So I always like to say that in terms of coming for your job, your expertise is what you should lean into with AI systems and push them in that way. So writers, for example, can push AI systems further than people who are not writers, right? The specialization is where it's at from our roles. But the API use cases. So we're all worried about, tech stack, bloat. So being able to have an AI system API into yours, for example, we talked about Adidas a couple times this week, right? So we're connected into their EPAM. They did a webinar with us, so this is all public. We're connected into their EPAM database, and then Jasper writes all of their, for this one case, their product descriptions that comes out into their format, which is Excel or Google Sheets, where they want it to go. So 7,500 product descriptions in less than 24 hours with the brand refresh that they wanted to do. That's APIing, using generative APIs into where you already work today. That's the other one. And the last one is finally figuring out one-to-one hyper-personalization. So this is exciting for us at Jasper because we're a marketing company internally ourselves too. And what we're doing is we're running a script in Google Sheets. So let's say we have all of our accounts we're targeting, and we're hitting a button that runs in Jasper. It's scraping third-party data, their website, your data sources, right, their LinkedIn page, and then it's creating personalized content for them, putting that into HubSpot email sequence for us, for example, and then also writing a customized landing page that's already coded, and it would say, hey, Jason, we're Jasper. This is the content we wrote for you based on your website and the brand that we got from it. And so that's all one-to-one personalization that we're testing out, and we're seeing some, of course, engagement because personalization converts, right? So we're trying to figure that out internally so that we can figure that out for our customers as well.
That was a good commercial. I like that. That's good.
Use case. Oh yeah.
Yeah, use case. That's right. But yeah, I think we should have a buzzword bucket list game, and hopefully we can start to check some of these things off. Yeah. So one-to-one marketing, we can finally check that off. But yeah, I think it's very important. I mean, the terminology that's been used in the past couple of days, grounding the data, grounding the model in your data and what's important to you and your brand guidelines. That's where we're evolving to. I mean, some brands have a head start and are doing that. But again, garbage in, garbage out. You have to make sure that your data is in the right spot. So let's go back to the boring, not the fun. But the boring part is you need to make sure your data is in order. When you layer AI on top of data that's not in order, you're not going to get the value out of AI. So there's still a lot of work as marketers, the fundamentals, going back to the basics that we need to do to make sure we get the most out of AI. And tools like Jasper can help because, again, it is the power of the prompt. So you have the data in order. You got to lay over the prompts and make sure the power of the prompt gets to the data. But you might not have expertise in that, and that's where external tools could help you start to get the power of the prompt in a more easy way.
But back to basics is so important, right? And when you think about prompting, you're telling the AI who it is and what you want it to do. And it's like what we as marketers should be thinking about all the time. Who are we writing for? What do they care about? What's the purpose of this content? Why are we doing it? What do we want them to do, right? That's exactly what your prompt should look like. So it's that traditional foundational marketing in terms of who, what, where, what, when, right? To get the best out of the system.
And that goes back to AI is not your strategy. So when somebody asks, what's your AI strategy? Just slap them in the face and say, I heard from 1-800-Flowers that is not our strategy. We have a business strategy and AI is going to help us get there.
I love that. So where do you see the biggest opportunity for AI?
Don't slap them, actually.
I don't want to be...
Caveat that.
Where do you see the biggest opportunity for AI in marketing for consumer experience or your business implications?
Yeah, again, I think to me it's, and again, marketing fundamentals, the old guy on stage, a lot of it is test and learn and iterations. A lot of success, so I worked at Guild Group many years ago. I don't know if you guys remember that, but, flash sales became a very popular business model. It wasn't about uniqueness at the time. There was 10 other competitors. It's about execution. Can you get to market faster? Any startup that I've advised, there's always at least 3 competitors or 3 people with the same idea. As much as you think it's original, there's the same idea. It's how you can get to market faster, if you can execute better, and if you can iterate and test in a more expeditious manner. So AI needs to help contribute to that, and it'll help you with your competition. You get to market faster, have more tests in market, get more learnings faster, and get back out there. More time working on the art side and less on that science fundamental side.
I love that. If you had a magic wand with AI, what would you want AI to solve for you in marketing?
Yeah, definitely budgets and financial monthly meetings. If it could just do that for me and let me do marketing, that would be my magic wand for sure.
When we did this at VMware last year, it was like QBRs.
Yeah,
Like if we could not
QBRs.
do QBRs
Yes,
anymore.
let me go. That's awesome.
So, what advice do you have for other marketing leaders who are thinking about how to get their teams inspired, create that urgency, and give their teams access to AI and thinking about how they can transform?
Yeah, so going back to sort of my thinking on organizations, I tend to think the theory of the CEO or the CMO being the leader, those days are um, numbered, if you will. I think everybody in the organization is a leader and has the obligation to think of themselves as a leader. So you have to lead by example. So if you as a leader are not embracing this technology, it's really going to be hard and authentic to get your team to embrace it. So my team is kind of pissed off at me right now because I send them off all the time. Like, have you tried this? Have you looked at this? Have you asked Llama this? And so hopefully they'll get over the irritation side and actually start to embrace that. But I really do think you need to lead by example, and everybody needs to be a leader. And your organization is going to appreciate that, and your careers will appreciate that when you jump in.
And that goes back to experience creates understanding. So, experience in the tools is what is going to teach you what they can do. And the more that you use the tools, the more you can think about the applications at work. And that's why you want to talk about it all the time. But it also brings up the opportunity for leadership from mid level or more entry level, right? Because there's a huge leadership opportunity here within your teams to step up and bring those use cases, talk about how to scale, talk about responsible AI adoption and how to roll that out across your team. That doesn't have to come from someone who's appointed, or it doesn't have to come from marketing ops or IT. Anyone in marketing can lead this transformation. You don't have to be a data scientist or an AI expert to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and again, take snapshots that teach us in history. People who embraced the internet, they had a better outcome. People who embraced social media had a better outcome. So the more you embrace these new technologies, bringing them into your thinking and don't fight it, the more flexible you are, and the more valuable you're going to be to your organization and to yourself in the future.
So it sounds like you are leading by example and using AI yourself too. How are you using it in your role, and what's kind of working for you?
Yeah, I think it just goes back to those day-to-day tasks. Copilot for the most part, just because, as Shelley mentioned, Microsoft sort of owns the Office at this point. So it's a really simple tool to integrate with. So whether that's in Teams and communication, or it's with an Outlook. Yes, Outlook exists for most of you in the room, as well as calendaring, Excel, Word, even PowerPoint. Even though PowerPoint is probably the worst version of Copilot that's out there. I don't know if Microsoft is still here. They were here yesterday or not. But
Everyone wants a PowerPoint solution
yeah,
with
PowerPoint
AI.
would
Yeah.
be super awesome. They had a person yesterday that demoed almost having a Figma output that is automatically coded in the back end. So I thought that was super cool. But those things to me are sort of mind blowing, and we're going to see where that goes. But right now, the PowerPoint Copilot is not good.
And you talked about meeting transcripts,
Yeah,
so that's
yeah,
a
that's
good one as
super
well.
super helpful. Cool.
Yeah.
So, questions? What do you think? Should we open it up?
Yeah. Do we have any questions from the group?
Yeah, so I'm not going to do that for the most part. For the most part, again, I've organized the business into pods, for lack of a better term, that are focused on business outcomes and strategic goals. It is the job and obligation of that pod to come up with those ideas to further those strategic business goals. So if I start to dictate as a leader of the organization what they should be working on or what AI use cases they should have, I think that sort of defeats the purpose. Now, of course, obviously, I'm going to be there to interject and see if things are the way in line with what I feel. But the pod leaders, the teams themselves should all feel empowered to bring that to the table. Again, not to accomplish an AI goal. We don't have an AI goal. We have a business and strategic output goal, and that's what AI needs to be used for. So they need to bring those things to the table to get that done faster.
You're the exec sponsor to advocate, pave the way,
Yeah.
champion the stories when we have them, right?
Yeah, and I think the other piece, as we're educated in what can be done with AI, you can push your teams to have more output. So I don't know if anybody's heard the excuses, we don't have enough resources. Anybody hear that? at all. Again, I'm the only one apparently. But there are opportunities to augment resource depletion with AI, and you can start to know these. Hey, if you can get 25% more efficient or 20% more efficient, then I'm expecting more output from you. So I think we as leaders also need to understand what the output efficiency gains are and sort of drive that more by putting pressure on for more output or better output. If the output is, hey, this looks like Chat GPT. Again, my daughter's in college, so they're kind of putting the same rules on paper generation, right, Jill? They know if a paper was written from Chat GPT, or at least they try to. The same thing from an output from a marketing point of view. They're like, okay, did Llama write this? What do you by the pool all day long? So you just need to be educated enough to kind of put the pressure on for better output, faster output.
And your AI usage guidelines can help a lot with that too, because you should have policies in place, right, that explain things like human review for publishing all of your outputs. And through that, you're raising your AI literacy of your team to understand that there is bias in AI, that it can hallucinate, that you do need to check your sources, right, through all of that, along with telling them which systems they can use for which use cases and how they should go about doing that.
Yeah, and the other important note, which we're learning today too, and I've seen opportunities or issues with a law firm. I remember they were using Chat GPT for legal guidance, legal documentation, legal brief writing, not realizing that they were putting information out to the world that is sensitive information. So, getting those guidelines in your organization, making sure you're partnering with your legal teams as far as what is allowed, what is not allowed. Don't have a personal GPT account that you're accessing during work to put work information in. Things need to be, there needs to be some sort of governance in place to make sure people are doing things the right way, and you're not all of a sudden putting, the formula for Coke into ChatGPT because you were just like, hey, here are the ingredients for Coke. I was wondering if you could improve on it. And you're like, oh my God. So next thing you know, somebody in Iowa now knows the exact formula to Coke. But yeah, so I think you just need to have those governance and guidelines already established.
And every department should have their own version as well. So even if your company has an AI policy across the board, marketing needs their own specific AI usage guidelines where you can get deeper for your team, specifically for their use cases. HR, legal can all have their own too. Thank you for the question.
Yep. Yeah, so the question is, in transforming the business into more of a relationship company, are you able to talk about anything you're using AI specifically for that transformation? I guess as a public company, I'm sort of tempered as what I can disclose or not disclose. What I can say is moving beyond the transaction is something that's very important. So content to me is very important. One of the bigger content pieces we have, for instance, is how do you write a sympathy card? People don't know how to express themselves. They want to connect, but they don't know how to express. So we have a lot of data, and when we talk about AI, like what is your proprietary data that you have that these models can learn from and help with? And we have a lot of data around people's greetings and what they're thinking and how they're sending gifts, when they're sending gifts. So utilizing AI to help us break outside of that transaction and build more of our content and get more distribution and get outside of the transaction, it's going to be very important for us. Thank you. Yeah. 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 So the question was, how do you make sure the team has the skill set and resources for your AI agenda? And again, I think it's probably goes back to anything else. Like you challenge the team to do more, and when they can or they're hitting hurdles, it's up to them to communicate what those hurdles are and go forward. So again, we'll have a base set of tools, base level guardrails that working with legal and the IT team as far as like what they can and cannot use, what tools they can and cannot use. And then it's up to them to come to me and figure out, where the barriers are. And it's up to me as a leader to remove those barriers. So I'm not going to know where the hurdles are unless they tell me, because I'm hoping that they outpace me in what I want to use AI for, right? I'm hoping my team start to learn more than I know, and they start challenging me for new things. So when that comes up, then, break down those walls.
And I would say to inspire your AI enthusiasts to bring opportunities to your organization. So bring an intro to AI course and do a global watch party for that, right? We started hosting monthly global enablement sessions at VMware where we brought in AI luminaries, we brought in vendors, we had CMO to CMO talks, we had our AI council come in and showcase different AI systems, right? So you can create your own educational content as well, or find one, get your team certified in piloting AI for marketers from the Marketing AI Institute, for example, and bring those opportunities up. And then we secured funding from our CMO, who was our exec sponsor. So all of these opportunities we brought to our CMO, and she said yes, basically checkbox along the way. And that's how we had global scale for our adoption. So thank you for
Awesome.
leading the way for your organization.
No, and thank you guys for having me. Do we have time for one more or do no? I can chat with you over
See
there.
us
All right.
afterwards.
Thank you. All right. Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
Thank you
you.
so much.